Hi, I'm Jacob Cox. Welcome, guys. Today we're going to talk about some exciting things that are happening, and we're going to start right here with awakening. Once you awaken, it's hard to go back to sheep, and you're going to see how through this presentation that the Bible and other books talk about how sheep, they explain the sheep in the Old Testament and other books. What does that mean? It's a metaphor for us. I think all of us we're like livestock, you know, and we're not accessing our full potential and our power. But once we jump out of the sheep den and we become a shepherd, we have a responsibility to help others, understanding what they are too, and that's what we're going to do here today. So we want to go from a world that's over here in peril like this, in our lives for that matter. That's the fire, the industry, the systems. We're taking from the planet in a very unharmonious way. And we want to shift. We want to shift our lives. We want to shift our world over to something more like this, where we have beautiful skies and the animals and the rivers are flowing, and you know the people are having the babies, and nature is just free flowing with the energy and the love, as opposed to over here where we're just taking from it. And this is something we can do. It's not so far into the future that it's not attainable. It's very attainable. And it's something that can happen, I think, very quickly once we get a small portion of people on our planet to awaken, to open up their third eye and awaken to who are we completely, and take back our power. So we're talking about the third eye. We're talking about a mind's eye referred to in the past, which is actually today called a pineal gland, or pineal gland. It's called that because it looks like a tiny pine cone. It's actually in the very center of our brains. And I think this is what Jesus said in Matthew 6:22, where he said, if your eye be single, your whole body shall be full of light. We're finding out today that this gland actually glows. It transmits an energy of light around it when it's activated. And a scientist named Rick Strausman found out that activation is happening when we are born, when we die, near-death experiences, and high states of meditation. But back to the pineal gland. It's in the center of your brain. It does glow. I also think this is probably where the parable of the lampstand comes from. If you have this light inside of your body, it's at the top. It's not at the bottom. No, it's at the top for all to see. And we have to activate this lampstand again. The parables are about us. This is a picture of Rene Descartes. He called the pineal gland the seat of the soul. And I would have to agree with that. This is a pineal gland that's actually calcified with fluoride from water. You know that our government and other governments around the world put fluoride because they say it's good for our teeth. There actually is no scientific basis for that it's actually of a poison. There's actually fluoride found in rat poison and things like that. So this is a very toxic chemical. It's very bad for you, and in high amounts it'll kill you. So we need to get it out of our systems completely, and I would start by drinking water that doesn't have fluoride put in it. Hopefully through movements, we can change this in our government to not put the fluoride in our waters. So the pineal gland is represented by the pine cone. This is the Vatican. This is a very large picture. And a person, you can see people back here, are very small to it. And this is also a green pine cone, which is a baby pine cone, an undeveloped pine cone. That's what they want you to have. So you're not accessing your full power. This is Sumerian god holding a pine cone. The Pope's staff has a pine cone in it. Up here you see the same thing. The staff of Osiris has a pine cone in it. This is Bacchus in Greek, Dionysus Greek, and you can see both of them have a pine cone on top of their staff. It represents that they are enlightened beings. They were considered to be gods. In Sumeria, you see the pine cone again. These people were considered to be enlightened gods. Shiva. And you see right here, his eye is single, his whole body is full of light. That's what this third eye, this Bindi, represents. Someone who has access to all the other dimensions because they've awakened their third eye. You also notice too, one thing that goes along with this is this bun on top of the head that represents enlightenment, along many other things that are in this picture that we could talk about all day. We're going to focus on the third eye and this bun of enlightenment. And you see it with many enlightened beings. Look how big this guy is. It's crazy. You see this with many enlightened beings in all cultures around the world. And so here's his third eye, and you have the bird man and the snake coming out, which represents this Kundalini energy. This is King Tut. Very important, the Kundalini energy, and we'll get back to that later. This is Akhenaten, also in Egypt. He has the snake coming out of his third eye, and he also has a crown on top of his head. This is Thoth, Birdman. So you see why I have the bird coming out of his helmet. That's his aura coming, stemming from his third eye. Buddha, he has the crown of life. He has the light that comes, once you awaken your third eye, the light isn't just inside your head, but it completely engulfs your body. It gives you an aura, this halo, which is in every religion, every culture around the world. You see people who have this. This is Buddha. His Kundalini energy is awake. He has a crown of life. His eye is single. He's also sitting in darkness, and those who sat in darkness saw a great light. See, his eye is single. His crown of life that's on top of his head. The aura that goes around his head. This is great. And these people are all disciples. And I think it's awesome to see these animals, the rabbits, the birds, the deers that are all around him. You heard about Daniel and the lion's den. Daniel closed the mouth of the lions. I think once you become enlightened, once you are aware of all that you are, and there is no hate, there is no anger, there is no evil intent inside of you, animals see that, they know that. And you can definitely see an animal walk up to you knowing that there's no fear, but you see a person who's running around a little too excited. Animals are skittish to those types of people because those people are nervous. They're not accessing all that there is inside of them. So when you do that, you will have communion with animals, even plants, I do believe. And you see Buddha's aura around his body, his head, his bun or crown of life. This is Krishna. His eye is single. His whole body's full of light. He has his aura. He has a snake. He has his crown. There's many other things that we could talk about, but we're going to focus on these today. This is his whole family. I think it's noteworthy to say, look at his whole family has this whole crown on every single one of them. Confucius was said to have a misshapen head which looked like a crown on the top of his head. I like this picture. This enlightened being with his eyes single, his crown is transmitting his energy to his disciples, which all a disciple is. It's not that a person. I don't think that these people are creating followers. I think these people are creating equals, that we're equal to them. This is Jesus teaching his disciples, and again you'll see that the halo is not just confined to him, but it's to every single person. All the disciples have it. Of course his is a little different, but everybody had this glow around them. They were all on the path to being a Christ. This guy just was the Christ. So one thing we don't normally see with Jesus is this crown, but we do know in the story that they put the crown of thorns on his head, that he referred to himself as a king, or people said he was the king of the Jews. Why? Is it that the very top of your head is called what? The crown of your head. So maybe there is, I believe that there is this bud of enlightenment that we can grow, and that'll help. That happens once we reach this full awakening of our third eye inside of us. You can also see, I like this because you see his chakras, and you think about the 7 lampstands of the Bible and what they're referring to. It's the 7 Hindu chakras. So the parable again is about you. But like I said, we don't see this in Jesus, but I think it's very noteworthy to say also too that this is a Jewish boy wearing a yarmulke on top of his head. Now to me, they've been wearing this thing for a long time. Why would a person wear something like this in a spiritual manner? Well, if Jesus had this bun of enlightenment, which is the picture of King Tut when they found him, what his head looked like, he had an elongated skull. I would say once a person reaches the enlightenment stage in this crown, this crown of life, referred to in the book of Revelations, actually you grow it on the back of your head and it can't be taken from you. I think that they wrap this crown of thorns around top of his head, right there at the end. And it makes sense. Why would they be doing this? Flattery. Imitation is the highest form of flattery. You do things because of someone who seems to be above you, or someone who has access to something that you don't have, so they're imitating this person. And it also does say in the Bible, which of you can add a cubit to your stature just by adding thought? And if you're going to add a cubit, which is measurement to your body, by thinking, where do you think it would be? And we see cartoons and television where they have these geniuses who have big heads and stuff all the time. Makes sense. That means to me that when you talk about the elongated skulls that are all over the world that people are mimicking and acting like, that means that they're not just, not say that they're not completely people from other planets, but they're people from our own stock as well that have reached something, and the reason that they're being mimicked is because they have something or they can do things that a normal person can't do. Which would also explain why a magician, which comes from the word magi, the three wise men. Magi is a wonder worker, a miracle worker, someone who could do things that the modern day person couldn't do. Why he'd be wearing, one, stars on his hat, but why would he be wearing something like that on top of his head? Cover up his crown, so he didn't look different. Because what happened to people? What happened to Jesus? What happened to Gandhi? What happened to Martin Luther King? What happened to witches and wizards? They were burned at the stake and they were killed. Who killed them? Christians. People who are supposed to be Christ-like, right? They're not, because they didn't know what the Christ was. They're holding up the messenger and they forgot what the message was. So this gland inside your head is your inner sun. It's accessing this part of yourself that allows your light body, this astral body, rainbow body, to go to other dimensions and bring back information for you. So this is what happens when you go to sleep. The light goes out, your pineal gland turns on, you fall asleep, and then a dream is your astral body going to other dimensions and you're having encounters with whoever, your grandparents, your ancestors, spiritual beings. That's what's happening. And not just in sleep, but when you're fully awake, they're around us all the time, and you can actually be in contact with them now. And that's what this dream is. It's this dimethyltryptamine, this chemical compound that's being manufactured inside of your brain, is a psychedelic substance that's taking you to other dimensions, even other worlds and other galaxies, and you can go explore anything you want to. You don't have to go somewhere in the physical. You can go somewhere in your astral body. And this is Krishna. He's has this snake, which is like his astral body, and there's a little him up here at the top, and that's his astral body going to other dimensions and other worlds. So, like I said before, what is this that's taking us to these other dimensions? Science today are calling it dimethyltryptamine, which is very close to serotonin. What happens when we sleep? Rick Strassman wrote a book where he gave people dimethyltryptamine in a hospital setting, and his book is about what happened to those people, what the pineal gland is. Found out some very fascinating things. For one, 49 days is what Tibetans believe for thousands of years it took to reincarnate. 49 days. At the 49th day of gestation, from when the sperm meets the egg, 49 days after that, you get your pineal gland and your gender. You're not even a person until the day 49. So that's where I'm talking about mixing spirituality and science. Today is helping us understand a little deeper what these people are talking about. They didn't get these numbers and things from just a random place. They were accessing something and they knew this stuff. So this is what the book looks like, DMT. This is a picture by Alex Gray on the front. And in my experiences, in my astral body projections, I've seen this grid, this eyeball grid, many, many times before I went to very in-depth dreams with grandparents and ancestors, and it's very, very, very cool. So it's that chemical that's taking us from the physical world into the spiritual world. That's here all the time, always, and it's inside of you. So this is by Alex Gray. This is a picture called the Net of Being. And I've actually been a little soul flying around in this precise image. I couldn't have described it any better. The colors and everything is right on. These little squares all represent galaxies. And when you're in this place, that head is beyond bigger than anything you could possibly imagine. It's infinite. Very awesome. And the next couple pictures will be Alex Gray's pictures. And I think it's important to know this guy is obviously accessing higher worlds, higher dimensions. His pineal gland is obviously open to paint something like this. It's almost like he's seeing inside of us. You see that pineal gland accessing, open. This one's called Praying, with that inner sun lit. and the light around his body, his eyes single, he is full of light, and he is in prayer. And you see this aura around the body, around the head, and the one around the body. I'm going to get to the one around the body and where that one comes from in a minute. This one's called light worker, and I think at some point, when you gather up enough light, blessed is he that is poor in spirit, you're blessed because you realize that spirit is something you can take in you. It's not something that you have to go seek at a church or something. It's something that we can all take in more of. But once you take in enough, you have to realize that you've been given something and that you have to share it. And that through this gift, it's going to be burdens. There's going to be things that you're going to have to do that, you know, you're going to be made fun of. People are going to not accept you. And I think that this is a great representation of the light worker for me. This is one about healing. It's very hard to see, but you can see Christ's image is right back here. And I've had some experiences that I feel like that's pretty similar, right on. This is called the cosmic Christ. Again, these are these beings that you come in contact with when you go to the other realms. So this is what's happening. We're awakening. That's why you hear about the Great Awakening. That's why I hear people say, wake up to this, wake up to that. What are you waking up? You're literally opening up a mind, your mind's eye. It has a lens, a cornea, a retina. It's filled with pineal sites for like rods and cones. So when you think of a red fire truck and close your eyes, you actually see that red fire truck in your brain because you have a mind's eye. And so this is what people are talking about. Wake up, awaken, the Great Awakening. So this is the full access to your brain. This is almost like, since it's in the very middle, I believe it's like the bridge to the brain and being able to access more than the 5 to 10% that we on average access. Evolution didn't stop at us growing opposable thumbs. We have another 90% of the brain to illuminate. And that's good news, you know? Euphoric feelings. I mean, I think that's what we're in for here. So we have to let this light come into our brain, give up and surrender. I don't think faith is just holding on to what you think is true and your beliefs, but you have to let go. You have to let go and take that leap of faith and step into the unknown. And knowing that, guess what, you're going to be caught. It's all right to explore. It's all right to ask why. It's all right to guess. It's all right to say, you got something there? Let me see it. Show it to me. You know, that doesn't make you any less or any worse of a person. You know, be like a child and ask why. And once you are open up to this information, I believe that's when the information starts to pour into you. And they give you the spirit guides. Spirit allows you to have these deeper understandings and these epiphanies or revelations, aha moments, whatever they call them. That's the access of your brain. So normally you hear about we're a left brain society, which we are. It also represents the male side of things. We are a male-dominated society in which we are logical and we have analytical thought and very competitive. That's a very male thing. But we know that our body's made of 7 trillion cells, and we can't think about competition all the time, because when you start to think about that, when you start to play in that game, your 7 trillion cells that are working in cooperation no longer work in cooperation because each one of those cells is a little you. When they start to work in competition with each other, that's when you have your cancers, your diseases, and really there is no cancer and there is no AIDS. And when your cells act abnormally, that's when you have a dis-ease. Your body is no longer at ease. It's in competition with each other. We're fighting. This is mine. That's yours. We're in competition. No, you're in cooperation with each other. And we have to have, once we translate that into our mindset again, it will also translate to our world. So we need to, so by opening up this pineal gland, by awakening, we're going to turn on this right side of our brain, which is the holistic thought, the intuition, the creativity, the art and music. This is our female side. So bringing those two together is going to literally help us make us whole, you know, to understand that. But it's not to say that the male side is any worse or the female side is better. They're both good. But if you're accessing just this one instead of this one, you would need to use the left side of your brain, because you can't have a balanced brain by just having the right side or the left side activated. So if these are the female and the males in us, coming together as one, then we have to realize that the female is just as important as the male, that one is not more important than the other. They're actually working in cooperation together to be one. And I think that's what this combining of these parts of the brain is. It helps us to become one, to eliminate the duality in the world, to becoming the gods and the goddesses that we all are. So the greatest discovery of our generation is that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind, and as you think, so you shall be. Our brains and our thoughts are energy, and they're very powerful. What you think about, you become. What you pretend to be, you will become. So let's open up our brains. Let's use it all. Let's awaken, start new trends, start new understandings, and free ourselves from the mental slavery. Freedom is not owning guns and having the right to have a gun or having the right to do this. That's what the government wants you to think freedom is. But freedom is being able to access your mind, being to access your heart and your full potential. That's what true freedom is. And when you do that, you can care less about a gun. You can care less about anything else that's going on. Because this is the ultimate ride for us all, so to speak, that we all need to free ourselves from mental slavery and the limitations, the barriers that we keep around us. Because it's not like an enlightenment that we have to reach. You're already enlightened. You're already a beautiful, limitless being. It's removing of the barriers. That's what it takes to find that enlightenment. It's not something over here. It's already here with us. So now that we've awakened our pineal glands and we're using the left side and the right side of our brain in harmony, what's another big thing we can do? We can use our hearts. And one thing that's really cool about the heart is, when you talk about electromagnetic fields, the heart field is very much stronger than the brain. It's actually 5,000 times stronger magnetically and 100 times stronger electrically. So that's why when you see those pictures earlier, you have that heart field, the body field was bigger than the one around the head, because the electromagnetic fields around the heart are bigger. So we want to create coherence with our hearts and our brains. How do we do that? We have to live in love. This is the frequency of love. It's very balanced. It's very even. This is frustration. This is getting angry. This is getting mad at people. You can tell that the energy that it takes to make this wave pattern to this wave pattern is not in harmony. So we need to eliminate that and find a coherence between our hearts and our brains. So did you know that your heart emits electromagnetic fields? Of course, I just told you that. When we change according to our emotions, yes, absolutely. And did you know that your positive emotions create psychological benefits in your body, as do negative ones create negative things in your body? When you stress, you get wrinkles, your hair falls out, you get sick. When you live in love, when you feel in forgiveness, these things are eliminated completely. You don't have these things anymore. And that's what we need to try to be working to. So again, this is a little blown up with that representation earlier, how appreciation, you can see the heartbeat and the heart rates per minute, it's in harmony, and this is someone who's in frustration, who's angry, who things aren't working for them, and it's just a mindset. What you think, you just have to change your mind, and to change the psychology and physiology of your body, and to emit this love frequency that we all have in us, unconditional love that every single person has in them, and forgiveness and compassion for others. When we start to do that, we emit a completely new frequency from ourselves. And so no matter what you get in, no matter what person you got to deal with today, the object is to forgive them, to accept them as they are. Don't try to change them. Don't try to do anything, but accept that person for who they are and love them for who they are, because ultimately that person is you. And if you're finding someone that you come to terms with, you're finding a reflection of yourself, something that's already in you. If you're angry, if you're mad, if you want to fight, when you find that person who has that same vibratory frequency, it's going to pull it out of you. Not saying that it's them. They pulled it out of you. You got angry. You threw a punch. You got mad. So when we see other people who are love and divinity, we also realize that that's us too. And that's something that we can also be. So turn your hearts on. Have a strong heart. love unconditionally, have compassion for others. And no matter what everybody's doing out here, no matter what everybody's talking about, the news and the accidents and Korea's going to bomb us. Okay, great. I'll be happy. You know what? The thing of it is, I didn't even know about this. Someone had to come tell me about it. I was like, maybe you should turn your TV off. They don't call it programs for nothing. They want to program your mind to be afraid, to be fearful. And if you're afraid, well then who can help us not be afraid? Well, the government can, because they can throw up walls and they can take tanks over there, and then we're safe. Well, you're not safe. You're just not accessing all of who you are. Be happy, be loved, no matter what, because in this moment, right now, you can only be one of two things, positive or negative, in some degree of each one. Super happy, super loving, or super angry, or super mad. So be loved no matter what. And let that frequency come out of your heart, and love, and transmit that to every person that you see on a daily basis. And a change of heart will change our world. Absolutely. When you change yourself, when you change your heart patterns, it's like giving the world a hug. You're literally giving everybody a hug. I mean, it's just so much more enjoyable. Life is so much more enjoyable when you're not thinking about the little things and you start to pull yourself out and see the bigger picture of it all. So open up your heart and let that love out. Let your love shine. And, Jesus said, and I've heard of Christianity, but I'm not trying to shove Christianity down your throat. It's just what I was growing up and what I was taught. But I found the same teachings in Buddhism and Hinduism and everywhere else. It said to love everyone as I have loved you, and then you will know you're my disciples. That's it. You don't have to go around telling about you're Christian. You don't have to tell about you're Buddhist. You don't have to tell you're Hindu. If you are emitting the love that you should be, people will see it. They'll know who you are and what you're doing and what you're up to. And then guess what? They'll want to be a part of it. I promise you, because once I started to do it, people started to just come out of the woodwork and say, wow, what are you doing? What's going on? Show me how you did that. I think this is a great picture, like I said, showing us that these toroidal fills are going around our bodies, and they're stemming from the heart, and no matter what's coming in, it's emitting love. And also it helps us understand too some of these parables and things that he said. Jesus said, a good tree doesn't bear bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. So if we're a bad tree, which of course he wasn't talking about a tree like this, we're talking about us, because what are we? We're a tree. Our circulatory systems, our blood vessels, our nervous system branch out like trees. We are trees. And we're just like nature. We're not part of nature. We are part of nature. So your thoughts, whether they're good or bad, are going to create diseases and cancers in our bodies. So don't, it's obvious that if someone's in love with themselves, in love with life, they're not going to have these diseases because their body's at ease. So I think that helps us understand what he was saying when he said that a good tree doesn't bear bad fruit. We know he wasn't talking about trees, he was talking about us. But if you're a bad person, if you are evil, if you're manipulative to other people, all of these things, they're going to have a detrimental effect on our bodies. And so these are pictures from the Heart Math Institute that show us these toroidal fields that go around our hearts, and show us that this is something that we all can do. We can all turn these fields on, but when you don't, and your field is smaller, then those things that come at us, those sickness and disease, are going to be much more easy to attack us when our fields aren't at, when the fields are down, of course things are going to get in. So if you have a strong heart and you have a strong brain, and you don't need a program to tell you what to do and what to think, you take your power back and things can't get inside to do damage. Again, these are just electromagnetic fields. So you see this toroidal field, this toroidal pattern. This is how energy manifests also. And it's part of us. So we see that in the magnetosphere of the Earth. The magnetosphere, this magnetic field that's around us, it's around Earth, and it's around pretty much all living things. This is an apple, and there's no doubt you can see that toroidal field in the apple. It's in our galaxy. Stars like Altaurus has actually made this pattern where they go up and down and up and down. And we've seen that with our telescopes today around the galaxy. I think it's even funny too that when you think about time in general, you think of that the hourglass. in which time flows down through the hourglass. And here is electromagnetic, like an iron bar with electromagnetic iron filings around it. And you can see how when you're an egg and your body starts to split through mitosis and all those things, that you are splitting because of these magnetic fields inside of you. So before you're even born, you're an electromagnetic field. Each person has this field around every single person. Again, some are going to be bigger than others, some are going to feel more than others, and that's why when you're around certain people, you feel good, or you don't feel good, because that person has a field around them that you're picking up. You're transmitting that energy from them into you. So you use your intuition, and this person a good person to hang out with, is this person someone I should stay away from, are they from a higher good or not? Another great picture of the choroidal field around us. And so it shows us that then we have electric circuits in our body, and what people call chi, prana. That energy is in our body, and when we're in fear, we're not experiencing the electricity in our body that we should be. And this is like the caduceus you see in the medical sign. That's also the energy, the kundalini energy that's spinning the chakras in our body. We'll get to that in a minute. So anyway, this heart energy, this love energy, has the direct effect on the DNA. And we actually have 20 out of 64 amino acids that are currently turned on. That's less than half. So we're accessing a very small portion of our brain. I believe we're also accessing a very small portion of our hearts, and we're accessing a very small portion of our DNA. I don't think anybody put us here to access such a small amount of ourselves. So again, it shows us that there is some mission, there is something that for us to do in this lifetime that we are supposed to understand and come to terms with, to figure out. This heart field actually turns on these amino acids. When you live in love and compassion, that frequency is able to touch more of your DNA and hit the switches and actually turn it on, which is very incredible. Why someone would tell you to love everybody as I have loved you, which is an unconditional love, because it does something to your body. It's just not a great philosophy. It actually is something that will do something to you. And so this love has a direct effect on our DNA, as well as the molecules that we're made of. And like I said, I told you that before, when our molecules are working in competition, that's when disease happens. And when they're working in cooperation, we're going to be a body that's at ease. So there's your DNA. Activating as we speak, as we have this conversation, as we talk about these things are turning on. This is a crop circle, and what I find very important, no matter what person or entity or however it's happening, these crop circles have profound meanings to them. And this is one DNA. This one right here is a picture of a triple helix DNA. And we've also found the quadruple helix very recently in cancer cells, and people are understanding that quadruple DNA is going to help us to eliminate cancer. But it helps to show that we are double helix, as we know, but there obviously seems to be other life forms that have triple or quadruple or maybe 12-stranded DNAs. And so hopefully, this science is brand new, and we're learning as we go. And hopefully we'll be able to turn our DNA into something more spectacular, something a triple helix or a double or quadruple helix. So this upgrade of our DNA is very important to understanding who we are. And it's very important to note that this DNA, this double helix strand, looks very much like a ladder, and these are rings, right? And so if this part right here was broken, because it's one of the 26 amino acids that we don't have turned on, so it's not together. If that was a ladder, you wouldn't be able to climb it. You wouldn't be able to climb to the top, because the rings in the ladder are damaged. But if you were to turn your complete self on, if you were to be able to unconditionally love everyone and turn all these broken DNAs on, then that ladder would be your ascension to heaven, to the other dimensions. And that to me is why Jacob's ladder was not some metallic ramp that aliens came and descended from, that it was actually something inside him. And Jesus does say the kingdom of heaven is within us. And so if he turned his whole DNA on, then he was able to access the higher dimensions through climbing that ladder and ascending and descending back down to his body, because he was fully awake, fully activated. So this activation does something to us. It changes us, and it changes people quick. And that's why I think that you will never find a missing link. There's never going to be something that evolves into something over millions of years. The changes are abrupt, like butterflies, like a metamorphosis. A butterfly is a completely different species, a caterpillar, and then not too long after that, what emerges out of the cocoon is a butterfly. It's something completely different. I think that's what happens. I think something completely different is about to happen to mankind. That we're about to evolve into a triple helix or a quadruple helix being with multi-dimensional aspects of yourself, being able to access far higher dimensions of our brain and our hearts. And so, what the caterpillar calls the end of the world, the master calls a butterfly. So if you're thinking that all these things are happening, North Korea is going to kill us, and these people are coming to get us, and whatever, and the world's coming to an end, you're not seeing the bigger picture. You're living in fear. And to know that the good things are to come, and that's right around the corner, is what the master calls a butterfly. I think is very important. It's a book by Bruce Lipton, who talks about this spontaneous evolution of ourselves and our positive future and how to get there from here. And I think it's a great read to try out. It also explains the phoenix. The phoenix rises from the ashes. It transforms. It transmutes. Whatever in the fire, and it comes out. So it's almost like us. We are this cocoon. We are this metamorphosis of ourselves and becoming different beings. So we're evolving. We're changing. There's no doubt about it. You can't say things adapt. You can't say things evolve. They change. They understand things better. We are evolving at an incredible rate right now, faster than we ever have before. This is from Thoth the Atlantean. Man is in the process of changing in forms of light that are not of this world. And I agree. And I agree the things that people talked about, Apollo and Zeus and Jesus and Buddha and Krishna, were these people who had already changed their body into this light body. So we're talking about light body activation. We're talking about how do you turn these light fields on, how do you turn this inner knowing on. And so this is, I think it's a great picture that kind of shows us that when we live in fear, we live in these lower dimensions, that we aren't accessing all of who we are. So these are the 7 chakras. I think the Bible refers to them as the 7 lampstands. There are energy centers that Hindus have talked about for thousands of years, and today we find in modern day science that these parts of our body actually have the most nerves endings in our body. It's no coincidence. I don't believe that. I think that everything has a connection to it. We need to see the connection. The connection is, people knew this in the past. They knew that these centers were there, and they knew how to activate them. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to activate these beautiful centers of ourselves, to enlighten ourselves, to enlighten our bodies, to turn our Merkaba fields on and be able to access those other dimensions and become all that we are. So get activated. It's not something that anybody can do for you. It's something that you can only do for yourself. It's only within you. There may be gurus, there may be people that come around your life that are teachers that help you to activate it, but all in all, no one can do it for you. They can only show you the door. You have to walk through it yourself. And I think a great way to do that is meditation. It's not necessarily sitting here, with your legs crossed, humming to, Indian chants or whatever it is, or flutes, or I think that's just taking your time to go in your room, close the door, turn the lights off, and anything that, the bills and all that stuff that throughout the day that, burdens you, let it go. And go inside and access who you really are and love yourself. And think about, why is it that this person did this to me? Why is it that I have this problem with this person? Why is it that this happened to me? And you start to ask why, and I think you start to get answers. You have to go in, and you have to find that. So meditation, like I said, is the ultimate way to go into yourself, to know thyself, to know who you really are, and to start shifting yourself. And when you shift yourself, you are going to be creating a better world. There is no reason to go out into the world and try to start some kind of benefit to humanity or whatever. That's a great thing, but the greatest benefit to humanity that you can give is to be the best you can be, all day long. so you see down here, Kundalini serpent at the bottom. And I think that's important. These Kundalini energies that go up our backbone, and there's 33 pieces of your backbone, right? Very, very symbolic to the 33 years that Jesus Christ lived. Also very symbolic to the 33 degrees of masonry. When you become a 33-degree mason, you become a master. I believe this is what they're talking about, the 33 vertebrae of the spine. And this Kundalini energy is going up. It's also coming down, which is creating the spin of the chakras. You're spinning your systems. You're like a gear. You're literally an engine turning. But when these things don't turn right, when your centers are down, when you're out of balance, your body's out of balance, and your spiritual body's out of balance. And that's, like I said, where you get the sickness from. A little close-up picture of the serpent going up the spine. And I believe this is the caduceus. So you see the two energies going up the spine in harmony. And this would be a full enlightened being. And again, this is why you see this as a medical sign on ambulances in hospitals today. I think even just looking at this picture turns your DNA on and makes you feel better. And I think that's why they told Moses to build that staff with the snakes on it, told people to look at it because they were sick. I believe that just looking at the spiral turns your DNA on. So this is the vertebrae of the spine, and I think this is that crown of life. And you see it looks like a crown if you could kind of think of it in 3 dimensions. But I believe that is a person who would be fully awake. And then it kind of gives a new meaning to the eyes in the back of your head, doesn't it? So full access of your third eye, full access of your DNA. It's just, life is just going to be, it's going to get amazing. Things are going to get better for you. Things are going to synchronicities are going to happen for you, where things that you say manifest in the physical. Books that you read, the next book that you read will have very similar things. I started to find many things like that. I started to say things that happened, and they just ended up being right there, and it was a pretty incredible thing. So I think when you do these things, you start to see something else that happens in the universe. It starts to move around things for you. Just for example, I told my mom and dad we were going to church one day, and I was just telling them things that I had understood, and I'm pretty good with the Bible. And so I told them, even there's that Bible verse that says, look to the left, look to the right, but you hear that voice in the back of your head telling you what to do. That's the one you should go with. And that was the last thing I said. And my parents were like, all right, well, time to go to church. All right. So we walked in and we sat down, and my mom, there's a Bible right next to her, and she picked it up and she opened it up, and inside that Bible was a bookmark that said that exact same thing on it. And I thought that was pretty incredible. And she was like, look at this. And I was like, I told you. I mean, what is it? Is that an angel? Is it God? What is it? I don't know what it is, but I know it's divine. I know that it's something higher showing us that there's something else there that we need to pay attention to. When you pay attention and you do the right things, when you listen to that intuition, these synchronicities build up, they get bigger, things start to happen for you, and it's an awesome thing. Life just gets better, I think. It's just awesome and amazing. You feel full of joy, and you feel full of happiness, and you just want to share it with everybody else. But be careful, because when you share with somebody else, people will put you down. They will try to put you on the spot, and you will have to carry that burden of being a light worker. I think these are just great pictures to show us that we are all that ever has been and ever will be. And we are a part of God as much as a drop of water is in the ocean. And it's only separate when you look at it. But when you take a step back and look at the whole thing, you see the whole ocean. But we are all like tiny little waves upon that ocean of existence, of consciousness. Each one of us is a co-creator, a fractal of the whole. That's why we are made in His own image after our own likeness, because we are godlike. And so, if we all are this multidimensional cosmic Christ being, then we all can ascend, right? We all can ascend into these higher dimensions, and therefore there have been many stories. There's 180,000 in Tibet alone of people who spontaneously bursting into the rainbow body, and some of them walking up to heaven as their clothes fell down to the earth. Lots of stories. Jesus is just one, but there are many other stories of people in history and around the world, and many other cultures of people ascending into heaven, and I think that's very important. So that helps you know too That there are powerful, loving, and wise spiritual teachers always watching over us and guiding us. They're over there all the time. And they could care less about Christianity and Hinduism. You know, they're working in cooperation with each other. And so I think that's what we need to stop and say. We need to work in cooperation with everyone else and start to see one humanity, one world, one love, and stop seeing the differences, because we are way more alike than any of us could ever be different. So I think that's some very good news, that there are these people out there who have done it before, and there'll be people who will do it afterwards, and we'll keep on doing it for some time. And I think that it's very good news to know that if this is possible, if what I'm saying is true, in our near future, we're going to see some people like this. We're going to see some people who can do miracles, who can, heal people without scalpels and technologies and things like that. I think that would be an amazing world to live in if we didn't have to work as hard as we had to. If we didn't have to imagine what kind of healthcare plan would that be? You know what I mean? Imagine, you got to get on the Obama plan or whatever it is. But no, you can just go to the Christ plan and you can be healed from everything you have, and you can heal others from everything that they have as well. You just faith. You just have to have enough faith to do it. So remember, we are all Buddhas. We are all Christ. We're all Mohammeds. We're all Allahs. We are all infinite energy. There is no end to us, and we will always be that. And there's no dying. There's just a transformation of energy from this body into another body. And so remember, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience. We are spirit beings having a human experience. And I think that's very important. So thank you guys for coming. I appreciate you.